All right.
All right,
Well,
let's get dirty.
let's light this candle. Cool. You ready?
Yep,
All
let's go for
right. Tap. Hey everybody, welcome back to Girl Dad Girls. I'm your host, that QT Danny B. With me we have Bree Saint Marie, and our special guest today is Natalie Fernandes. Everybody, yay, Natalie! Hooray! All right. Cool. Well, welcome to the show. Natalie, is Natalie? So you have Natalie on there. Do you want Natalie or Natalia or?
I'm fine with either. So,
Okay, cool. Well, yeah. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
so yeah. I mean, I live quite a simple life, really. I mean, there's not really a lot to my life. I mean, I think I get the feeling like because a lot of the people that kind of follow me and who I follow as well, like on Instagram and stuff, are in America, and so I get the feeling that things are definitely a lot more interesting over there.
Not really.
Things are not quite so crazy in Britain. So,
You mean just like politically, or what? What do you mean?
politically, yeah, I'm finding out at the moment because my boyfriend Ronnie's Danish. And we've been together for almost a couple of years, and I'm having trouble. Like, we want to basically move to Denmark at some point in the next few years.
That's
And
awesome.
basically, it's a problem for me because Britain is not part of the EU anymore.
Oh
So
yeah.
it would mean that basically, kind of the only way that I think we could really do it is if we got married, kind of thing. So
Oh.
that could be
Ooh.
potentially something big coming up in the next few years. We'd be getting married just to kind of get into Denmark, but obviously I'd be getting married because we love each other and stuff. But I think,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just there's a lot of I think there are a lot of obviously like political issues. I think like in the UK, but I think compared to America, it's pretty minor.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got that right.
It's
I
yeah.
think it's a lot more. I think generally like things are a lot more interesting out in America, not just politically, but I think everything. So my life's kind of pretty simple. I've been transitioning for like the last 4 years. So
Oh, nice.
Okay.
What has been your favorite thing that you weren't expecting about transitioning?
I don't really know. I mean, the thing that I always made sure to tell myself, because I'm quite an impatient person. So the thing I kind of always made sure to kind of tell myself, kind of like before I started medically transitioning, was that I just needed to be patient, because I knew it was going to be a marathon. Like, I knew transitioning is a marathon, and I think like you can't really get it all done in like probably like the minimum time frame to get it all done is probably like 5 or 6 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of really kind of pushing it, and obviously that's obviously then kind of dependent also on what surgeries you have, and also what kind of priority kind of you kind of put those surgeries in yourself, kind of thing. So
something you said just there is you said done. So do you? A lot of our guests we like to ask the question of is there a finish line to transitioning? A lot of people say it's kind of like this lifelong process. Some people say at this point, once I stop my day-to-day activities stop being about the next step, that's when I'm finished. What do you consider, like when you say done? What's your like definition of done for transitioning?
I guess it's interesting because I think obviously different people look at it in different ways, don't they?
Yeah.
And so I never really thought about the fact that, like, because I never really thought about the fact of like that. For me, it was just all about getting it done. Whereas for other people, they don't necessarily think of it that way. They think of it maybe in a different way. So when I first started transitioning, or when I first, decided that I wanted to medically transition, the first thing for me was getting on hormone therapy.
Totally.
Then
Right.
it was. Then I was like, I'm just going to leave the hormone thing therapy. I'm just going to leave the tablets, the pills to do their thing. That's just going to take time, so I can just kind of put that to one side now, and just take my pills every day and just kind of wait for that to happen. So the first thing was kind of getting on hormone therapy. The next thing was kind of getting rid of my facial hair. I didn't have a lot of facial hair, so that probably, in terms of laser sessions, that probably only took me kind of maybe kind of a year and a half, maybe, to get that all done.
Oh wow.
Oh, lucky you.
So,
A lot.
yeah, and then it was kind of, and then I had my breast surgery 2 years ago.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
and then the next thing is for me is kind of reassignment surgery. So
Okay, so you are going with that. That's I know a lot of people that we've asked are they're so hot and cold on it, like just because of.
I've always questioned it all the way through transitioning. I've always questioned whether it's the right thing to do, and every time I've come back to the same answer, that I won't feel physically like a woman until I have this surgery.
Yeah.
So, but I've always questioned it all the way through, because I think, but I don't think like I think that's kind of a good thing, actually. I think if I hadn't questioned it, it might have been more of a problem. So,
right. I talk myself in and out of it at least once a week.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It happened today, this morning. I was like all for it, and then I really thought about it. It's like, do you really want the maintenance of that?
I think a big thing for me is like kind of my kind of relationship with Ronnie over the last kind of couple of years, and I haven't felt comfortable sexually in terms of sexual activity with Ronnie. So and that's something that I've been quite lucky that he's been quite patient to kind of just wait for kind of me to have surgery. So, but I guess it's not you have, unless you're kind of with someone that's that patient. I think it can be difficult, I guess, and for people maybe who are transitioning, who are in relationships and stuff. I think it's also different as well, because it seems to me like a lot of the people like who I follow on Instagram who are kind of transitioning, they're in a relationship kind of like the opposite way, like with their wives kind of thing. So it's kind of a completely like the opposite thing. So for me, it was kind of like people talk about the question about, obviously, does it change your sexuality? I would say probably for me, it probably made me I kind of always felt I was bisexual anyway, but I think it made me more confident in terms of looking for kind of a man to be in a relationship with, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of knowing that I was in a body that I kind of, felt more kind of comfortable with, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had my referrals for just before Christmas for reassignment surgery, and they ask you these questions about this kind of stuff, kind of, do you think you'll regret it afterwards and stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, the point is, I'm 100% sure up until the point that I have the surgery. Like, I don't know if I'm going to regret it afterwards. But actually, I kind of look at it in the way now. I was like, I've had like 32 years with like a penis, and I'm quite looking forward to having a vagina for the second half of my life, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I'm not I kind of I've had enough time to think about it. It's something I've been mentally preparing for the last kind of few years, in terms of gearing myself up for that surgery. So
yeah, it's so interesting how like the doctors will, even at our age, because I mean I'm almost 40, and they're still like, they still ask me all these things, and it's like I remember being a teenager and like actually making like plans to like castrate myself because I hated it so much. And so it's like back then, probably should have like questioned whether or not I actually meant it. But like now it's like, come on, doc, we don't need to have this rigmarole like I'm some sort of like pensive teenager. Like, yeah. I mean, I know for me personally, it is the goal, because there's something very dysphoric about putting on tight clothes and seeing the bulge. Even though I know some people get really turned on by it, but
I
um,
I haven't since I've been transitioning. I haven't really had. I mean, when I was a teen, I mean, probably going back to when I was a teenager, actually, probably not before that because I was probably too young, but probably kind of from my early teens was when I first started thinking about my body and thinking that my body was quite kind of feminine, but actually kind of like not really. I think probably this was kind of probably like when I was 11 or 12, and obviously that's kind of like the early 2000s. And I think probably if there had been as much information on kind of transitioning now
oh
as
yeah, absolutely.
transitioning then as what there is now, I think it would have been. I might have transitioned probably maybe earlier, maybe kind of like in my teens, most probably. I don't know, but yeah, I didn't. I mean, they ask you questions like, they were asked when I had, when I had these when I had these referrals, and they were asking me kind of questions in the interview, like, what toys did you play with? And to be honest with you, when I was like 5 or 6, all I was interested in was playing with kind of Lego and Playmobil,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
kind of
gender
it just kind
neutral
of
kind of
bugged me
thing.
a little bit that they're kind of putting these gender things on toys. It's like it's a toy. Like girls play with action men sometimes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like it's just but yeah, so yeah, I guess kind of
that's so interesting. They asked you what toys you played with. That's so I like that seems
one of them did.
so
One of them did. One of them did, yeah. One of
It's kind
them.
of a shitty question. Because
yeah.
I mean, if the doctor asked me what I played with, of course it's going to be GI Joes and everything else, because that's what my parents bought for me.
And what my friends
I
played
didn't
with.
really have a choice.
I mean, kind of look. I mean, it was a shitty question. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with you there, but I think for me, it's kind of like my kind of focus was just kind of getting through them and just getting those referrals.
yeah,
That's all I care about. I kind of, they're gonna, I think, until there's kind of, you know, I mean, this was from a psychologist, so like a gender psychologist. So, I mean,
Yeah.
what can you do? Like, if they're going to ask those sort of questions, then you just have to kind of answer them as kind of as
Yeah.
robustly as you can, kind of thing, and that's all you can do really. But I don't, I think it's a pointless question.
Yeah.
I don't think it has any bearing on what toys I used to play with when I was 6 or 7. Doesn't have any bearing on whether I'm fit and able and ready for gender
Yeah.
reassignment surgery.
It's like,
yeah.
oh, you played with Legos, that means you're going to be a carpenter. And it's like, wait, what? Like, it has no bearing in anything else in your life, apparently. But it's like,
Yeah,
like I played with, like Ninja Turtles. Apparently, that means that I'm supposed to be a trans software engineer.
yeah,
Apparently.
yeah,
One thing that you said is that you wish you had seen more material when you were younger. Like,
yeah.
what kind of things now, like for somebody who's just their egg's about to crack, or they just cracked, what kind of like material do you wish you'd had when you first, like when you were younger, like Instagram, Reddit, anything that
Yeah,
more exposure?
I mean, I kind of, I don't, I wouldn't say I talk to a lot of people nowadays on Instagram. Obviously, if if somebody talks to me, like if one of you guys talk to me, then I'll obviously talk back and stuff. It's not a problem. I think that's mainly just because I'm just kind of so focused. I've just been so focused on kind of transitioning and just trying to live every day kind of thing. But I think, yeah, it would have been helpful. I think like Instagram, definitely. I think social media would have been helpful, definitely, because I think kind of seeing other people's experiences and being able to relate it to my own and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I've got my own kind of I've got my own kind of gardening business, and I do kind of I kind of brand myself, or I branded myself as kind of Natalie the autistic gardener, because basically I think I'm autistic. I'm pretty sure I'm almost 100% sure I'm autistic. Um, I don't have a diagnosis, but I'm almost 100% sure. Kind of that's just purely from having done lots of research on autism and then kind of linking it to own experiences going back in my life, to when I was kind of little, sort of thing. But I know for me, it kind of helps. And I've had a lot of clients kind of hire me for kind of doing, work based on they've got somebody else in their family who's autistic, or a brother or sister or a friend, and I know that it helps for me kind of talking to other people who are going through those same experiences. So I definitely think like social media would have helped. Yeah. When I was 11 or 12. Yeah. When I was that age.
Well,
And I think Google as well, I
yeah,
think if I'd have had the internet and access to that information, then
it's so interesting that like all these people, like especially on the right, they they don't hear that kind of thing. They see that we came out and later on in life, and then they see that their kids see us and then feel comfortable. Like somebody who's 11 or 12 sees somebody, a trans person now, and feels comfortable coming out. But they basically base it around, oh, you converted my kid, and it's like, no, we just let your kid realize that it's okay. There's so many people who were like, like for instance myself, that were just closeted until we felt comfortable coming out. So letting kids feel comfortable, like they act like we're like uh perverting their children, and it's like we're not. It's just not. It's not the outcome that you wanted. So of course they're gonna find somebody to scapegoat for it.
Yeah, I think probably for me, I was closeted without really knowing it. I think I had a lot going on. I think probably I had a lot going on at school. I was kind of bullied a lot at school, and kind of I had problems at school and stuff with kind of fitting in with people and stuff. And I think when you are bullied at school, I think it takes away that time you have to kind of learn about yourself as well. So that probably didn't help. But I definitely think, I definitely think if the internet had been as accessible as it is today, then I definitely would have probably transitioned in my teens. I'm pretty convinced. That's something I look back on now, and I'm pretty convinced of.
It's not really exactly like we had a soft pillow to land on, if we came out back in the 2000s either. And so it was for me, I was in Texas, and that was a very, like, if I came out in 2000s or late 90s, it was just going to be a whirlwind of hell, of just, bullying and everything. So why the hell would I come out of the closet? It's like the material was there, but it was all just kind of surrounded by a deviant mindset.
I think it's so much more. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, where I'm saying it. I think it's so much more different in America, because I think it's more toxic. I think here, like, if people are transphobic in the UK, I think it's more just kind of words, whereas I think in America it's violence.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not. I mean, I know there was the schoolgirl who was murdered here not that long ago. I don't know if you heard of her, Brianna Gay.
Yep.
That
made all the circuits around here.
Yeah, it's not, but it's not a very common case here. That's quite a rare thing to happen. Like in America, that's happening all the time.
Yeah, it's like I kind of feel like we're born and bred in violence, and it's just so much more normalized over here.
And I feel like parents are so conditioned now to, like, if their kids, to raise kids to basically say, you're gonna be in my image, and if you're not, and if you have friends that are not, everybody has this defined path that they're supposed to follow, and as soon as they see somebody deviating from it, they, it's you have to apparently convert all the all the heathens. I know I've lost a bunch of friends around here because of coming out as trans, and they just didn't fit into the playbook of what they wanted for their friendship with me. And it's like, you can really tell the people who are only out for themselves, because they're like, oh, I don't think we should hang out anymore. And it's like, okay, you didn't like me, you liked the convenience that I offered. But the violence is, I feel like I guess it's also over here it's the younger kids, I think, because honestly, like I knock on wood, I'm being in my late 30s, no one has. Well, also I think I'm a little bit intimidating because you got the big buttons. Um, but yeah, I've knock on wood haven't had anybody do anything like violent or like threatening against me. Um, but yeah, I feel like the kids are they're kind of bred to be like, if you see somebody being different, it's best to beat them up and show, display your own strength by beating up somebody who's different. And yeah, it's yeah. I know when I
I
was
mean,
younger.
it does
Yeah,
happen here from time to time, but I think it's a lot more regular in America.
it's yeah.
I think it's pretty you know, trans people probably get misgendered a lot here, but it's more kind of words rather than violence, I think. So
It is, and it's become so in vogue now over here. It's like it's so trendy because
it's almost trendy to be violent.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's trendy to hate because everybody's looking for somebody to hate because we're doing so well over here now with, the economy's not that bad. So okay, so what do we do? Okay, the economy's not bad. Life isn't really that bad. What can we hate on? Like who can we have to find somebody to hate. And trans people are we're easy targets. Um so yeah. Although I don't know. I'm super excited for it to change back to somebody else.
Please.
Hopefully it's yeah. But in terms of your autism, what was like, when did you start realizing that you had something that you kind of wanted to diagnose with yourself? Like, is it something that kind of like slowly came on? Is it something you go through your whole life?
When I was about probably 9 or 10, my mum took me for some diagnosis, and they said I didn't have autism, but that was in like 2001.
Okay.
And I feel kind of like the criteria, and I feel like everything's a lot more kind of different now.
Yeah.
It's a completely different landscape. That's nearly kind of 25 years ago, and
yeah,
that's the other thing as well. When I had my interviews for my referrals, that was one thing I didn't disclose at all because, I kind of didn't want to put that in there because then they would try and kind of maybe use that against me, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna mention that. That has nothing to do with my decision, like to have reassignment surgery. So
yeah,
we'll just leave that part out.
Well, it's one of those. Yeah, I know when I was younger, like I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD or any of my attention issues, but when I was younger, but it's, I guess, because it was just so much harder to get. They didn't understand it, I guess, as much as they do now, and especially with autism, I bet people kind of realize I feel like back in the day it was so one or the other as opposed to being on a spectrum.
Yeah.
But it's nice that you're able to like handle it and deal with it. Do you find it really has like an impact on your day to day, or is it one of those things that you can manage pretty easily?
Well, autism. You mean autism?
Yeah. Does it?
I have meltdowns. Yeah. Sometimes,
really? Okay.
sometimes I have meltdowns, but I kind of, again, I'm kind of lucky that I'm with someone who's able to kind of deal with that. So
yeah.
So yeah, Ronnie deals with that pretty well. So, but I don't not all the time and not very often, but occasionally kind of thing. But
have you
it can happen.
Have you developed like in your like techniques and stuff to dealing with it when you feel something coming on that like you know that this is about to happen and you kind of like get yourself prepared to be in a way to deal with it?
I find it hard. Usually Ronnie's better at spotting the signs, the signals before I can even spot it myself. So
gotcha.
Usually he will kind of say something to me, and then that will kind of make me kind of calm down, So
gotcha.
I'm not, because I find it hard to read a lot of signals and stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I can't imagine. But good on you for being able to handle it. And I mean, especially with your Instagram, I'm just so impressed with all that you do and everything. It's very you're a very inspiring person.
I don't really I don't really do anything. Like I just post photos of myself in like lingerie nowadays. So
It's
like I
very
don't,
inspiring though. So you have
you know,
positive energy about you, and you spread that in a good way.
yeah.
So
Well, it's nice, you know. Sometimes, you know, it kind of, it's always
well,
nice if someone's messaged me and they kind of say that it's helped them. I kind of help them
yeah.
in some way then, because
Well, and especially with the autism, especially because your your username,
mm,
the ballistic
yeah,
autistic,
Yeah.
and I think it's really nice to have that like have the visibility out there, because there's a lot of people I imagine who are suffering from that, but they hide it, or they're embarrassed by it. But to have somebody such as yourself being like such a positive role model of like, it's not a death sentence, it's not a
yeah. I mean, it's a
um
shame. I mean, in a way, it's a shame that I couldn't, when I had my interviews for my referrals, it's a shame in a way that I couldn't share that as well in those interviews, because I think like it's actually had a part to play in me even transitioning in the first place. So, um, you know, yeah, it's I don't mind talking about it. Look, it's not kind of, it doesn't affect me by talking about it. So,
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like when, whenever they ask you in the, those interviews, they're always like, "Have you ever had suicidal thoughts?" And of course, you always answer, "No, of course not. Who would ever?" I mean,
mm,
but it's like I can't imagine a transport. Like I would say more often than not, I feel like most people have had those kind of thoughts just because they don't feel comfortable in our bodies. And
mm,
so it's like, we can talk about it now, but yeah, definitely when you're talking to your doctor, you hold that in, because it's like they're expecting, trying to find a reason to not give you the medication. And it's like,
yeah,
look, this isn't gonna make anything worse. It's only gonna make things better. Um,
yeah. I
but
mean, I guess it's just like luck of a draw, like which kind of doctor you get as well, isn't it? Kind
yeah,
of.
yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I like to highlight in these things is like, if you have a doctor that you don't think is being supportive. I know for me personally, I had a therapist who was negative, like who did not support trans people, and was she made me sit through uh these interview after interview with her. I had to go for 6 months before she would even write me a prescription to go see it, or write me a referral to see an HRT doctor, because she wanted to make sure I wasn't just making it up. And it's like,
Mm.
it's not like doing like controlled substances where it's like, okay, I'm making, I want to abuse this. Like, no one's gonna abuse HRT. So
Yeah, it's not a harmful kind of it's not a harmful drug particularly.
yeah, and
Um,
yeah, and
and
it's
Ronnie always says to me, it's like it's crazy. Like Ronnie always says to me, like you know, kind of like there's drug, you got drugs like cannabis and cocaine which are banned, and then you've got a drug called alcohol which is far more harmful and far
oh
more
yeah,
dangerous and does far more damage to people, which isn't banned. So it's kind of like
yeah, oh, and yeah,
it's
and I
like
mean, it's so easy to get on Adderall and Ritalin and Concerta. I mean, I'm on Concerta right now, and it was easier for me to get on Concerta than to get on HRT, because it was like,
Yeah, it's
a
true.
substance that I could very quickly and easily abuse if I wanted
and
to.
these are painkillers,
So what?
and these are painkillers.
Oh no,
No. Mm-mm.
Concerta is for ADHD.
Oh, okay.
It's a part of the methylphenidate, which is just kind of like it regulates your I guess uh not dopamine, but your serotonin, or it regulates a bunch of your chemicals that keep you
Yeah.
um but it's basically it's are you familiar with Ritalin or Adderall or any of those? It's
It's
basically
all
like
to do with the happy kind of chemicals, isn't it?
kind of,
No,
it's like a
or not?
focus thing where like
Okay.
if you get distracted easily, it helps you
Okay.
to kind of like avoid those distractions. I guess because it's part of like the meth family, it kind of speeds you up a little bit, but it also allows you to like hyper focus.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
yeah, it's like it's all these things that they never diagnosed when I was younger. They just thought they just thought I was a bad student. They were like, oh, well,
Right.
at the time, I was David, and they were like, well, David just can't sit still, and it's like, there's a reason.
There's
Um,
there is a
but
reason.
yeah. So in terms of your transition, I guess what has it been like with your family? Have they been supportive? Is that when you
Yeah,
came
so
out?
my family have always kind of been supportive, and
That's good.
I've always kind of had a fairly good kind of support network around me. So um, yeah, so it's from that kind of point of view, it's kind of no issues really.
That's good.
Um, so that's obviously kind of made it. It obviously makes it easier, But
Yeah. It's I think it's one of those times when you like tell your parents the first time. Like it's such a like ingrained. Did you make a big to do about it? Like, ask telling them you need to talk to them, or was it just sort of like off the cuff, like, hey, by the way, this is what I'm doing.
yeah, I wasn't in the kind of 3 or 4 in the, probably kind of like the 3 or 4 months kind of leading up to kind of telling my family. I wasn't kind of in a good way at the time. Um, I was kind of drinking and stuff, and I kind of, I was kind of I kind of was kind of preparing for kind of how I would tell them, and
Yeah.
making down notes and whatever. But it's you know
Yeah.
when, as you probably know, when you kind of come to telling people, it never goes the way you planned it anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
But yeah, it's not, obviously it's a shock in the beginning, but I mean,
yeah.
they kind of, came around to it pretty quickly, and it's not kind of, yeah, it's not been an issue. It's never really been an issue.
That's
Um,
that's really good.
which
That's
makes it a lot easier because it's not obviously always like that for everyone.
yeah.
Um, but
Like
I just think I've just kind of all the way through, I've just kind of, you know, had the mentality of I've just kind of zoned out, and I think like I've always kind of said to myself, look, people are going to be on board or they're not going to be on board, you
yeah.
know. And I kind of, I'm doing this anyway, but obviously, yeah, you do need your family behind you. Absolutely, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's important to like, yeah, like either whether it be your family that you were given or a family that you choose. I know
Mm,
a lot of people that have, they came out and they lost their mom, they lost their dad, they lost both because it wasn't in the cards for. I know when I first
mm,
came out, my dad had a really hard time with it. Like we were sitting at a diner and he kept saying, "What does that mean? Well, what does that mean?" And the thing that he was really concerned about was that I was going to start sleeping with guys. And I was just like, that's the main concern here. Okay, cool. Like he's a born again Christian, and so of course it wasn't in the cards initially that like he would have a child that was transgender or a child that was gay or lesbian or anything like that. But yeah, like I've then started to realize it's like, I can have other you can have other family. And if
mm.
you're a family that if your parents are terrible parents and they can't love their child for who they are, find different ones.
I
Find
think
somebody.
I
Yeah.
think with my family, it's kind of once they saw that I was happy and comfortable in myself more and more, then
Yeah.
it was kind of then they kind of it was easy for them to support it,
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, what parent doesn't want their child to be happy? If
yeah,
you if you're a
yeah,
parent, if you're listening to this and you're a parent and you don't want your kids to be happy being who they are, then you're a
mm,
terrible parent and you should stop.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But there are
Yeah.
obviously lots of people who transition whose parents are like that. So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. Like I have a daughter, and whoever she decides to be, whatever she wants to do, I love her for her, and that's all that matters. If she's happy, I'm happy.
yeah,
So, um,
yeah,
I did want to ask, like, because I know for me, there was like this point. It was like a pinprick that sort of set off that opened up the floodgates of of transitioning being possible.
mm,
Like it was one friend who I mentioned is like, yeah, I kind of always wanted to be a girl, and she was like, well, why don't you? And for me, that was just sort of like, like, wow, I can actually
Beacon
do this.
moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was there like a moment that you can remember where you like it kind of went from like this dream that you
Mm,
had to kind of like
yeah.
being like, oh, this is possible.
Um, it's so weird because it's like I always had feelings on and off, not all the time, about my body from probably when I was like, probably going back to probably when I was like 11, 12. You know, just about my body, you know, like I would look at my body in the shower and think my body was quite feminine or female, but
Yeah.
not really kind of thinking too much beyond that.
Yeah.
Again, probably because, you know, I've kind of concluded now because there wasn't the information that there is now. If there hadn't been, if there had been, and if I'd have been able to kind of talk to somebody about it or know where to go in terms of social media and all the rest of it, which didn't exist, you know, when I was 11 or 12, then you know, it's kind of, then I probably would have realised. I think, so on and off, probably up until kind of like my mid-20s, maybe.
Yeah.
I was kind of exploring anyway. I was exploring like with my sexuality. I'd had a couple of experiences with guys and it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I play table tennis in my local league.
Oh,
Or I
awesome.
used to. I've just given it up. But this was kind of in the autumn of 2018. So there was a league match that I was playing and I kind of left early because I wasn't in a great place. And then I went, and then I just kind of left and I went to the local kind of Asda supermarket, 24/7. And I went up there and I just kind of bought I bought a red wig and I bought a pair of tights. And I went home and I just tried it. And I bought a bra as well. And I went home and I tried it on in the mirror. And then all of a sudden that was like my kind of eureka moment.
Oh,
And so
okay.
that was when it
Yeah.
all hit home, actually. Now all of a sudden that was the moment where it all hit home and now all of a sudden this all makes sense kind of thing.
Yeah. Where
And
it's
so
like,
it's literally like that. So
yeah.
all the time
I
before that, I just had feelings on and off about my body and nothing more. No
Yeah.
dysphoria, kind of nothing really kind of. And looking back now, I was probably dysphoric all the way through. I just didn't realise it kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
I was probably the reason why I was kind of unhappy all the way through was for kind of this reason, but without really kind of being able to kind of figure it out kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of
It's
how it
like,
was.
yeah, like I remember for me up until like the point where I was like, I'm gonna start looking into actually getting on hormones. It was always just jealousy of the female body, and it was like I just thought I was some sort of deviant because I was trying on women. I had women's clothes. I remember when I was like, yeah, like 14, 15, going to we were in Grand Cayman, and I went to this bathing suit shop and got a one piece bathing suit, and I told him that it was for my sister. And went home and I coveted that thing. I held it and like I wore it around and tried to be as feminine as possible. But it was I just thought it was so deviant because I was like, this is just something I'm not supposed to do. And it was like I was doing drugs or something. But once that girl said, "Why don't you?" It was like, oh, well, okay, I could. Like HRT wasn't that HRT was a bad thing anymore. It was like, okay, this is something that will help me. So
Yeah.
Mine was definitely Face App.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
feel
had
like that,
been
yeah.
talking with my therapist for so long already about the whole thing, and it was still just like something that was unattainable. And finally, I was just sitting at work one day, and I downloaded. I was like, "What the hell's Face App? Everybody's talking about it. Blah blah blah. Everybody's doing the gender swap." So I downloaded it, and I did the gender swap. And what the AI churned out was just like, holy fuck, this is actually attainable. Like, and that is what set me off. So thanks Apple.
I did the Face App thing recently, actually, the schoolgirl one.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
it made me feel there were several photos in there. I thought I was looking at them and I thought that is how I would have looked like if I'd have transitioned when I was 14.
I never
And
did it. I couldn't do it.
I kind of, it made me feel, for a little while after, it made me feel quite depressed, to be honest.
Cool.
And
You
that's
know,
why
because it made me realise like I should have transitioned when I was younger. Like I wish I'd have known when I was younger. I wish I'd have been able to have the foresight of mind to be able to have known that, you know, this is what I needed to do, and it would have solved. Looking back now, it would have solved a lot of my problems in terms of bullying, because I wouldn't have been, you know, trying to impress people. I just would have been myself. You know,
Yeah,
you know,
I guess it would have opened a whole different door of bullying. I mean, like, you know, we still get bullied now, but yeah, it would have been like, instead of being bullied for, looking like a feminine boy, you're like, okay, now I'm trans, you're LGBT, now you're, you know, you're different. So of course we still got to bully you. One thing that I do like to like kind of mention is like, so for me, I know, yeah, like seeing those things, it's like, well, that would have been nice to be in high school and you know, kind of be in the right body. I just feel like I like to highlight for a lot of people who are older, you know, like for me personally, I benefited the crap out of being like a straight white guy for a long time. Like I always say I milked the crap out of that white male privilege. I got to get a job. I got into, you know, college and everything. I got a bunch of benefits that I normally wouldn't have had. So it's like I wouldn't be who I am now without having been David for 37 years. But yeah, it's definitely different. I feel like life would have been a lot harder if I'd been a teenager in Virginia, a trans teenager in Virginia. Probably wouldn't have gotten the same opportunities, and but yeah, it's, you know, it's so weird because it's like I would have been happy with myself, but I probably wouldn't be as financially well off as I am now. Do you ever like, are there things that you feel like you benefited from going, like, lasting into you were late 20s when you started hormones?
Yeah, I was 27.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, do you think that was helpful to do it at that point, or do you think it was only
It was just the time that I worked it out in my
yeah
head, and I realised that this was the thing that was bugging me my whole life,
yeah
most probably. And it was just that particular point. It came to me. It came into my head, you know, and it was like everything made sense in that moment, kind of
yeah
thing.
That's awesome. I wish that was 10 years before. I wish I had done it at that age. That
It
would have been
sounds
awesome.
strange
But
because obviously I know a lot of people say, you know, they realise when they was like 4 or 5 or 10 or 11, you know, but
yeah,
you know, I had feelings at that age, but I didn't. Looking back now, I
yeah,
had feelings at that age, definitely, but I was never really going to be able to piece it all together at that age.
right.
For me,
yeah,
anyway. You know,
yeah.
other people can obviously, but yeah,
Yeah, that was
Oh,
10 years old for me. I knew
yeah,
something was off, but I didn't know what it
yeah,
was.
yeah. That's awesome. I think that's a great discussion. I really enjoy like hearing that kind of like everybody's opinion on that kind of stuff. Kind of wanted to take it a little bit lighter just so we can kind of wrap up the regular hours, but we do have like some kind of lighter questions if that's okay.
yeah. Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so one of my favorite questions, and it's the one we've been asking for the longest, and maybe you've heard of it, but Natalie, what is your transition theme song?
Theme song.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
what song
What
would you
song
say?
resonates with me most, kind of thing, and in terms of
Yeah,
like
like was there a
transition?
song that like kind of like that got you through some hard times, or like when you look back, you're like, this song is what like inspires inspired me.
Um, I don't know. Like, I kind of listen to all kinds of music nowadays. Like, I kind of have done for a long time. I think like it's interesting. When I was a teenager growing up, probably from about the age of 11 or 12, when I was at school. It's probably one of the reasons why I got bullied, actually. But anyway, I don't care because it's like 15, 20 years ago now. So,
Yeah.
but when I was at school, when I was a teenager, I was a massive Elvis fan. So
Awesome.
my
That's
thing was
awesome.
like I wanted to be an Elvis impersonator.
Right.
So I was kind of
That's
like,
so
so I used
cool.
to get like, you know, when I was like 12 or 13, you know, 14, I used to kind of like, when I was like 12 or 13, I used to kind of like get the ironing board out, pretend it was a band, like have the microphone, the remote control and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah. Oh, I
So
love that.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
no, I'm still a massive Elvis fan, but I like loads of other music as well. So I wouldn't say there's a particular song necessarily that resonates. No, that's a hard one,
Yeah. Well, if you think of it, let us know. I'm making a playlist for for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of my favorite questions, just because like some people have like this song that just boom, that is what that's that's my song.
I'll tell you what, I got in for quite a while. I got into kind of listening to kind of there was a period of transitioning where I kind of listened to kind of a lot of Ricky Martin. So
Amazing.
So yeah,
Living La Vida Loca. Wait, is that Ricky Martin?
No, yeah, the one I was listening to a lot for quite a while was She Bangs.
Oh
yeah,
didn't we all?
Yeah,
such
all
a
right.
good jam.
That's a good
song
one.
And kind of the pace of it and stuff. I just love that song, the beat and stuff. Yeah,
I love it.
Just so good. You can put that one down, I guess.
Okay. That's awesome. I love it.
Done.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. This has been like so. It's so great to. I love these like deep conversations to talk about that. Bree, did you?
I don't want it to stop. Like I just continue the deep conversations.
Yeah, Bree, did you have your question or?
Yes, I do. This is a new question that we've started asking in the last couple weeks, but if you wanted to see anyone on this show, who would you call out to be a guest on it?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
It's kind of like the ALS ice bucket challenge.
You mind if I just flick through my Instagram now and just quickly?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just quickly see.
While you're doing that, what is your Instagram? Like, just we're gonna put it up so everybody can follow you. Anybody who doesn't.
The ballistic autistic. So
okay, yeah. So we'll put that on. We'll put that in big letters, and let me put a mark so I can remember to mark that.
But it's cool. It's like the, and then it's kind of an underscore, and then it's ballistic underscore autistic kind of thing.
Cool. Yep, that is perfect. I will put that in there. And everybody, awesome. if you're listening to this and you don't follow Natalie, you definitely should. She's amazing and super cute. So,
I tell you, who would I recommend to go on? I don't know. It's really difficult.
We should get Ronnie on here. We should get Ronnie on so we can. That'd be fun. Ronnie, your boyfriend.
Oh, Ronnie, yeah.
We should get him on sometime.
You could get him on, yeah. I guess.
That's awesome.
I guess. No, it's kind of
That'd be fun to like.
Have you got the one? Okay, I'll throw out one. Have you got the one? Is it Alana Bahama?
Oh yeah,
she's coming on in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well.
Because I follow her and she follows me, so it's kind of like
you're getting your wish.
kind of suggested, so
cool. Well, yeah. I guess we can go ahead and start wrapping up the regular because we can get into the after hours. But now it's just as like a final thought, like you're really inspirational. I remember when I first found you on Instagram, I was just I really. I love your passion. I think you're amazingly attractive, and I love what you're doing in terms of like showing the community that autism is not something to be ashamed of. It's something to embrace, and it's not to hide away, not to keep it hidden away. Because it's a beautiful thing. So
no, I just like I've never really kind of seen that. For me, it's kind of like I've just kind of like that's not really something that I can really do. Is kind of hide. So for me, it's kind of you just got to kind of be all out there and kind of stuff. But it's hard, it's not easy for everyone. So
for sure.
So but that's kind of been my kind of attitude, I guess, is try and be out there as much as possible.
I love it.
I probably don't talk about transitioning as much anymore, kind of on my Instagram. I don't talk about it often, but I try and keep it just kind of, a bit kind of light and stuff. But I try and talk about it sometimes because I've realised that actually when you get messages from people occasionally saying kind of like something I've posted has really helped them, then it kind of makes me think actually, if I can kind of do that for somebody, then it's kind of maybe once in a while it's kind of helpful for people. So
yeah, absolutely. But Bree, do you have you want to do final thoughts, Bree?
Sure. Yeah, Natalie, thank you so much for coming on. I think you were probably within the first 5 people that I actually followed from my account way back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you were one of the
How long
OGs.
How long ago was
Yeah, that was probably February of
that? Right.
last
Yeah.
year.
That's awesome.
Coming up on a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that you've been delightful. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
No problem at all. Yeah. There's so many people who follow me, like I don't even know they're following me, so
Yeah.
it's kind of keep track. I think once you get past like 15, 20,000 or so, it's just like just kind of
It's just a number at that point.
Yeah.
it's kind of, I think probably soon. Once I think if I get to 50,000, then I go past that. It just becomes irrelevant at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. Thank everybody for listening. All the listeners out there. If you're part of our Patreon, then we'll see you in the after hours. But if you're not, then this is where we're going to leave you off. And I hope everyone had a great time listening. And hopefully we'll see you in the after hours. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And for Girl Dad Girls, I am that QT Danny B.
I'm Bree St. Marie.
And our lovely guest, Natalie Fernandes, the ballistic autistic. And we'll see everybody in after hours.
This has been a production of Girl Dad Girls Podcast. Check out new episodes every Thursday. If you are interested in knowing more, please email info@girldadgirls.com or find us on Instagram @girldadgirls. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.